Hi guys, today I thought I'd show you, I'm going to call this a faux lampwork glass technique, but I'm starting off with a Makume Gane. Basically I saw these beautiful beads that were made out of glass, the lampwork glass, and I loved it so much I thought I'd try and make it. Obviously I don't know how they did it because it was made with glass, so I'm just doing my interpretation of what I saw, and it did look like Makume Gane on it, and then there's all these beautiful little added blingy sparkly bits. So I'm gonna try and show you that today. Well, I'm not going to try and show you, I am going to show you. So what you're going to need is some white clay, and I've got some rolled out here on my thickest setting. I've got some Premo Turquoise, Premo Burnt Orange, and Premo Peacock Blue, and these are all rolled out onto a number 3 and cut into equal sized squares. So that's for the stack that we're going to make. And I'm also going to be using these wooden block stamps, which I absolutely love. Now they don't stamp very deep, so they're not ideal really for Makume, but I love them so much that I have used them, and they do look really nice as long as you keep your stack fairly thin. But just bear in mind they're not going to go all the way down the stack, they just don't stamp that deep. So if you don't want to use this kind, you don't have to. You can use any kind of stamp you'd like. And I'm also going to be just using this regular little flower stamp as well, which is filthy. I told you I don't clean my stuff properly. So anyway, I've got three separate stamps here. I got this one ages ago from a craft store, so I couldn't leave you a link for this one, but I did get these two from Amazon, so I will leave a link for those. You're also going to need some UV resin and some metallic gold paint, a little pokey tool, but I'm going to be using this for the paint, not to poke anything into the stack, and then your standard tools, knives and things. You're going to need a flexible blade as well. Alright, so let's get this little stack going. And I've got something tickling my nose. I think I've got a hair hanging down from... There we go, got it. It's been driving me crazy for the last minute. Alright, so I've got my turquoise. I'm going to use that as the bottom piece, and then I'm going to put the orange on the top, followed by the peacock blue, and then I'm just going to stack the same way. Alright, so I've just got my quick and easy little stack. You don't have to do the colours in that order. It's entirely up to you. There's no specific recipe. I'm just stacking the colours. Alright, and I'm going to roll it out one time, cut and restack one time. So there's that. Excuse me. So I didn't sleep at all last night, and I mean I literally didn't sleep all night. I was still awake at 6:30 this morning. So excuse me if I sound a little tired and my voice sounds a little gruff, but that's why. Alright, so like I say, these do not stamp very deep. I'm literally going to get some shavings from the stack, which is all I want for this style of pendant that I'm doing. You can always restamp though, so I've rolled it out fairly thin because obviously I want to get some impression. Actually, I'm going to roll it this way a little bit as well, so I can get all 3 of those stamps on there. And I'm just doing... Let me just make sure these are going to fit before I do anything. They should be okay. Alright, so I'm just going to take my first stamp, and these, like I say, are probably more used for stamping ink patterns. But I tried this on a stack the same as this when I was doing a practice run for this tutorial, and I just love how it came out. But you do have to be quite firm with it to make sure you get a decent impression at least. But again, you don't have to use these particular stamps. You can use any kind you want. So I can already see it's not gone very deep at all. Now this one as well won't go very deep either, but I'm using it anyway just because of how they look, and I'm really pushing down on this, and they are kind of awkward because they have a tendency to wobble because of the shape of it. Alright, so there we go, that's that. And then just my little regular flower stamp, I'm just going to add a few of those on the end as well. Now this does go deeper. Alright, so I've just stamped 3 different stamps on the little stack, and I'm going to bring over my white clay. Let me just move this over a little bit so you can see. I'm going to bring over my white clay, and now I'm going to take my, actually I'm just going to move that back out of the way, I don't want to catch it with this blade. I've now got my flexible blade, and this is where you have to start shaving, and I mean you are taking wafer thin slices. For 2 reasons. One reason, I want a kind of open look. Because it's so thin, it's gonna kind of separate from itself, if that makes sense, so it's more of an open look. And obviously the second reason being this hasn't stamped that deep, but you're going to get that lovely spiral pattern. Alright, so I'm just going to do a few pieces because I'm only going to show you one pendant, and you can see there's still some of that spiral left, so it's still usable, but after that there's not going to be any pattern left, I wouldn't think. See, like there, it didn't go that deep. Okay, now this one, I'm just going to take this away to even it out a little bit. All these pieces can be used, but I'm just levelling this off a bit so I can actually get in there to shave off the pattern. But they're still really pretty pieces even without the pattern on there. Now this one, I'm not even convinced it's gone deep enough for one slice, but we'll see. Kind of. But you just want little pieces, shaved off pieces. And then the last one, just some little flowers. Oops. Oop. That's pretty. Just get a little bit more of that. I'll try and get another spirally bit. So yeah, that's all you're doing. You're just taking off little shavings from the stamped clay, and that's probably as much as I'm going to get out of this. Alright, so I've got my pieces. Just see if I can get a little bit more flour. That didn't stamp very deep either, I thought it would. So guys, you know, this is what I'm doing. You don't have to use these stamps. If you're worried about wasting any clay, then obviously you don't have to use these stamps. But you can just restack it and restamp and reuse it. So that's all I'm going to cut out. I am literally showing you just one pendant for the purpose of this video. But as usual, at the end I will show you some of the other things that I made using this, alright? So now I'm going to get my white clay, and I'm going to take these very delicate pieces and just lay them on there. Now, I'm not covering my whole piece with the pattern, and you'll see in a second what I mean. I'm just getting some of these nice, I'm just going to stick with the spirals. I think I can always use the other pieces in a different on a different pendant, but I just quickly wanted to show you. Alright, so I've got these very delicate little shavings, and I've just put them in a line like that, and that's as much as I'm going to do. I just want to make sure I've got enough for my pendant. I might need to add a little bit more. Yeah, I'm just going to add one tiny little bit more, and I think I will add this little flower at the bottom. And it is very delicate, which is why I'm lifting it with my knife. So let me just see if that fits my pendant, and that's good. And that's as much pattern as I want to put on this. The rest of it I want to leave white. So obviously I've got all these little delicate pieces left, but like I say, I'll use those in a different, on a different pendant or earrings or whatever, and I will show you some other things that I made at the end. I think I'm repeating myself, aren't I? Oh well. I like to make sure I'm being understood. I always worry that people aren't going to understand what I mean. I think that's why I repeat myself so much. And I've got a hair on there, so I'm going to have to... Probably a tipsy hair, seeing as she always comes down here. It looks like a tipsy hair. I'll just get that off. Just used a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a wet wipe just to clean it up. Because obviously it's white clay and I want this to be perfectly white. I don't want to get any stains on it of any kind. And white clay is quite tricky to work with, in my opinion, because it does easily stain. Alright, so I've done that, and now I'm going to just get my steel soap and a piece of card, and I'm just going to burnish this just to make sure it's nice and flush on that white clay. I'm not pressing too hard though, because I don't want to make the piece too thin. So a quick burnish, so it's on there nice. Oops. Just a little more, I think. And that's good. I'm just going to clean it again because I'm paranoid now. And that green is that not green, the turquoise. When you wipe over it, it really does stain quite easily. And I keep getting a little hair in this. This is really bugging me. I can't get it off. I think I should be good. I think I'm going to avoid it anyway. Yeah. Alright, so when you've done that, take the shape of your choice. I'm using this one just because I like it. Oh, wait a minute, guys. No, I want to put some saran wrap over first to give it a more like beveled look. So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, you don't have to use a cutter. You could use a mould if you wanted. Just do what I've done here and then push it into a mould. I have done one like that, and I'll show you at the end. Oh, this is wrinkly. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to cut out, get my shape, and like I say, I want a lot of the white still showing. Just push my cutter in there. Give it a wiggle, make sure it's gone all the way through. Because I've done this before and it's not gone all the way through. Alright, so I'm just going to get rid of this white clay, and I'm going to get a piece of card from somewhere, and I'm going to put this on the card, and I'm going to bake it. Okay, so it's a bit untidy on the edges, so I'm just going to give that a quick tidy. But I'm not going to worry too much about that, because this kind of pendant needs a really good sand and buff. So I'm not going to worry too much, it's tidy enough. But then once it's out of the oven, I am going to thoroughly sand it. I'm not going to buff it, sorry, I'm just going to sand it. I'm just going to give it another quick clean because it looks a little stained still. There's a little mark on it there. I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. That stuff is really the alcohol's really lifting that blue clay up. Alright guys, I'm rambling enough now, so I'm going to go and put this in the oven, and then I'm going to thoroughly sand it all over, and then I'll be back to show you the next step. Hi, I'm back, and I've baked this, and I've sanded it all over just on a 400 grit. I don't want to get it too smooth before I put resin on it because it might not stick too well. So next thing then is to take the metallic gold paint. Oh, and just before I go forward, I forgot to mention at the beginning that you're going to need some alcohol inks, and I'm just going to be using this blue and white from Pinata. But anyway, back to the gold paint. I just want to pour some of this onto my tile, and we're just going to add a few little gold embellishments onto this. So I'm just going to dip my ball tool into the paint, and I'm just going to do some little, nothing extravagant, just a few little swirly things like so. It's just to add a little bit of gold highlight here and there. What else do I want to do? I think I might just add a few little gold dots going around there like that. So, like I say, nothing overly extravagant. It's just a few little highlights. And I think that's good. I'll just bring it up to the camera so you can see what I've done. So that's all I'm going to do on that. But before we move on to the next stage, it needs to dry. So I'm going to let this dry, and then once it is dry, I'm going to add some UV resin to it. So I'll do that off camera, you don't need to see me do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I resined this and let it cure. I do have a video showing how I resin my pieces, etc. So I will leave a link for that. But the next step now is to add the faux lampwork. Like I say, I'm not really sure what to call this one, but it was inspired by some glass lampwork, so I'm going to probably go with that. So this is the bit where we're going to add the faux lampwork, and I'm just going to use some alcohol ink and some more UV resin. So I'm just going to put a little tiny drop of resin on my tile, and I'm going to add a tiny drop of blue alcohol ink. And then I'm just going to give it a mix with this. Make sure it's all mixed in. I'm just going to add a little bit more resin to that, I think. Now the only thing I'm worried about doing this is when I drop this onto the pendant, it's going to run. So I've got my UV lamp at the ready just in case I need to give it a quick cure, which is a little awkward. I mean, you can get those handheld UV little handheld lamps, but I don't have one of those. But we'll see how we go. So I'm just going to take some of the resin once I've mixed it a bit more onto my ball tool like this, and I'm just going to drop it onto the pendant like this. And so far so good, it's not running, but I'm just going to quickly get my lamp just for 5 or 10 seconds just to give it a quick set before I move on to the next bit. I'm just scared it will start to run and merge together. So that just like gives it a little bit of a set, just helps it. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and you can make these little drops as big as you want, as small as you want. You can put them wherever you want. And it just gives that faux glass look, which is what I'm after. I'm just bringing my lamp in again quickly. Alright, so I'm going to keep on doing that, but I'm going to pour some more resin out, and I'm going to add white alcohol ink, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to put little drops here and there, just so it looks a little bit like faux glass. So that's all you need to do. So I'm going to go off camera and finish that, and I'll be back. Alright guys, I finished it. I've added a pretty little pinch bail and my usual cord and ribbon, and that's the finished piece. And you can see these little resin drops on there that gives it that faux lampwork, glass lampwork look. So that's what I did today on camera. I'll just show you some others that I did in the same way. I haven't finished them in terms of adding pinch bells and whatnot, but this is going to be a pair of earrings, so there's those ones as well. And I also did another pendant in much the same way, so there's that one. And then I also did some earrings, and I just took it down a step and didn't bother adding the faux lampwork, so to speak. I just did the touch of gold on them, and added a little flower charm. So you could do it like this if you wanted to. You don't need to add the little resin drops or anything. And then I went a step down from that and didn't bother adding any gold, and it's basically now just a blended makume on white. And there's a bangle that I did, and I just sanded, and actually I've not buffed it yet, I've just sanded it, but it needs to be buffed as well to bring out the shine. So there's that as well. And this is all from the same stack that I used today, so you can get quite a lot of stuff on it, out of it. And this is just this is from a different batch. This is my original batch that I did before I did the tutorial, and again I didn't bother adding the gold or the resin. This is just sanded and buffed on white, a nice smooth feel to it. So it's a kind of a 3-for-1, but I was basically going for this faux glass lampwork look. Okay guys, so that's all for today. Thank you for watching as usual. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you did. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you later. Bye.